Garrett Mitchell, better known to the world as Cleetus McFarland, climbed from dead last all the way to 29th place at Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th, 2026. He was passing car after car, his teammate was pushing him forward, and for a while it genuinely looked like this was going to be the night he put everything together. Then one spin in the final corner of Stage 1 sent everything into a downward spiral that he couldn't climb back out of. And when the race was over, he didn't hide from a single bit of it. That's what makes this story worth telling. Not the 35th place finish, not the 2 penalties, not the spins. It's the fact that a guy learning one of the most demanding sports on the planet, in only his second ever NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, got out of the car, looked his team in the eye, and called every mistake exactly what it was. But before we get into Nashville, you need to understand who Cleetus actually is, because a lot of people still get this wrong. The name Cleetus McFarland is the persona. The man behind it is Garrett Mitchell, a 31-year-old from Bradenton, Florida, who built a YouTube channel to nearly 5 million subscribers by doing wild, creative, and genuinely entertaining things with cars. He owns the Freedom Factory, a racetrack in Florida where he runs his own events. He's not a guy who stumbled into motorsports for content. He comes from a drag racing background. He's competed in Freedom 500 Crown Victoria events, and he's made 6 stadium truck starts with a podium finish. What really separates him from the typical content creator tries racing story is what happened when he visited Richard Childress Racing's campus in Welcome, North Carolina. RCR Vice President Danny Lawrence recalled the moment. "We had a moment where we were touring the engine shop, and most people don't know this kind of thing, but he was like, yeah, that's a R07 and that's a SB2. How much camber do you run? How much caster do you run?" Lawrence's conclusion was direct. He's not just a YouTube personality. He's actually a racer. His crew chief at Rhett Jones Racing, Mark Rhett, saw the same thing. When they first looked at throttle trace data together, Cleetus immediately recognized the software because it was Holly-based, identical to what he uses in his drag racing operation. He didn't need it explained. That kind of instinct doesn't come from filming car videos. It comes from years of actually working on and driving fast cars. The partnership with Richard Childress Racing came together through Ty Dillon, who reached out to Cleetus directly. As Cleetus described it, "Ty called me and he said, hey, we were talking as a team and we like what you're doing, but it looks like you need some help in the driver department," which valid. The deal they struck is a 2-year, part-time agreement at essentially a $1 salary, with Tommy's Express Car Wash coming on as the sponsor. The arrangement is mutually beneficial in a way that's completely transparent. Cleetus gets access to one of the most experienced teams in NASCAR history, and RCR gets access to his massive social media audience. Austin Dillon put it plainly, he's got a fan base that is massive and we want him to come in here and have fun at RCR. Be himself and bring that to his people. His racing resume heading into Nashville told a mixed but encouraging story. He made ARCA Menard Series starts in 2025 with Rhett Jones Racing, earning top 10 finishes at Talladega and Charlotte. In February 2026, he made his NASCAR Truck Series debut at Daytona. It lasted 6 laps before he crashed off turn 4 and finished 37th, dead last. Then in April 2026, he ran the ARCA Menard Series race at Talladega, and that one was completely different. He led laps, ran door-to-door with the leaders, and only lost the win in a final corner battle when Andy Jankowiak slipped past him and Gus Dean to take the checkered flag. Cleetus finished second. The crowd erupted. The talent was clearly there. But the O'Reilly debut at Rockingham in April 2026 was rough. Multiple spins, a 32nd place finish, and 6 laps down. NASCAR then denied his request to race at Talladega Superspeedway in the O'Reilly car, citing the need to see more from him first. John Probst, NASCAR's Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer, explained, "He is approved right now for O'Reilly Series short tracks, which means he's good for all of ARCA, all of Truck, and then O'Reilly up through the short tracks. We'd like to see more out of Cleetus in the short tracks." Nashville then was carrying real weight. It was his chance to show that Rockingham was the outlier, not the standard. Nashville Superspeedway is a 1.33-mile concrete trioval, an intermediate track, not a superspeedway. Rain washed out qualifying entirely, which meant Cleetus drew the worst possible starting spot, 38th, dead last. For a driver with limited oval racing experience in high-powered stock cars, starting at the back of a 38-car field and working forward is an enormous challenge. His teammate, Jesse Love, was considered one of the strongest drivers in the field that night. Here's the part of Nashville that deserves more attention. From position 38, Cleetus immediately started moving forward. By the time the first stage was winding down, he had worked his way all the way up to 29th. That's 9 positions gained from the back in his second O'Reilly start on an intermediate oval he'd never raced before. A big reason for that climb was a gesture from his own teammate. Jesse Love was leading the race by a significant margin during stage 1. Rather than simply lapping Cleetus and moving on, Love actually gave him a push to help him get past another car. Cleetus later described the first stage. "I had a great first stage. All we did was gain positions in that first stage. It felt like we were passing guy after guy." Starting dead last and cracking the top 30 in a professional NASCAR Series race is not a small thing. It showed real racecraft, real awareness, and real improvement from Rockingham. At the end of stage 1, Cleetus was battling a driver named Logan Bearden for what's called the lucky dog position. In NASCAR, the lucky dog is the first car that's 1 lap behind the leader, and at the end of a stage, that car gets a free pass back onto the lead lap. It's a significant opportunity, and Cleetus wanted it badly. Coming through the final corner on the final lap of the stage, he pushed just a little too hard, got loose underneath Bearden, and spun sideways into the grass. There was no major crash, but the splitter, the flat panel at the front underside of the car that manages airflow and downforce, took damage. It doesn't sound dramatic, but in NASCAR, a bent splitter changes how the entire car handles. The aerodynamic balance is disrupted, the car loses grip, and it becomes progressively harder to drive at speed. What happened next is what separates Cleetus from most rookies. He owned the mistake completely and immediately. I think that's what got me too wound up going for the lucky dog, and I overdrove. It was not that intense, probably not that crucial, honestly, but that definitely put me on a downward spiral because I damaged the splitter. And then he added something that showed genuine understanding of the sport's fundamentals. I wish I would have just not overdrove. That's something I'm really learning is anytime you overdrive, the cons outweigh the good. That's not a talking point. That's a driver processing a real lesson in real time. With a damaged splitter, stage 2 got worse and worse. The car wouldn't grip. Cleetus fell a second lap down and ended stage 2 in 35th place, frustrated and communicating it clearly over the radio. His team kept working, adjusting the nose, trying to give him something back, but the damage had been done. Cleetus summed it up on the radio with brutal simplicity. All it takes is 1 effing spin. He didn't quit, though. He fought back up to 30th place before his first ever green flag pit stop at the O'Reilly Series level. The entry into pit road was textbook, and then things fell apart again. During the stop, the car rolled off the jack and dragged it out of the pit box. The crew recovered the jack fast, but the equipment had already left the box. That's an automatic penalty. Then, while trying to serve that penalty, Cleetus spun out again, this time right at the entrance to pit road. That triggered a second penalty for a commitment line violation. 2 penalties back to back in a matter of seconds. The root cause of the pit stop chaos came down to a technical mistake that makes complete sense for someone transitioning from drag racing to stock cars. Cleetus explained it post-race. "What happened was I held the clutch in the whole pit stop. In a hot rod or drag car, clutch management works differently. In a NASCAR stock car, it's one of those small procedural details that has to become muscle memory. It wasn't there yet." His post-race reflection on all of it was as clear-eyed as anything said at Nashville that night. In this sport, your own problems compound badly. Obviously, other people can cause you problems, and no one caused me any problems, and I don't think I caused anyone problems. The checkered flag came. 35th place, 6 laps down. When the race ended, Cleetus got on the radio and spoke to his team without any spin of his own. "Well, I made a lot more mistakes than I wanted to. I really screwed us spinning out. I wasn't expecting him to suck the air off my car so bad, and I lost it." His team, spotter Mike Dillon and crew chief Robert Stramiska, praised him for the real improvement he showed in overtaking and racecraft through the race. Cleetus didn't deflect the credit or dismiss the learning. He responded, "Thank you guys, I apologize for the mistakes. I'm learning so much, and I know it's at the mercy of your guys' hard work." To the fans who were watching his in-car camera stream on YouTube, he made a direct promise. "I ain't gonna give up, I'm gonna figure this out." Then Dale Earnhardt Jr. walked over to the car. Dale Jr. owns JR Motorsports, whose driver Justin Allgaier had just won the race. He leaned in the window and, in classic Dale Jr. fashion, asked, "Are you dizzy from spinning around in circles?" Cleetus said, "Yeah, Dale Jr." Replied that it happens to everyone, and told him to keep doing his thing. At the winner's press conference, Dale Jr. went further. He was a way better tonight than he was at Rockingham, and he'll keep on getting better. He also offered a candid portrait of who Cleetus is when the cameras aren't rolling. He truly just wants to come in here, and he doesn't want to be the story for all the wrong reasons. He wants to come in, run his race, learn, get out of here without ruffling any feathers. Cleetus himself, still smiling when he talked to reporters. I think the on-track part went a lot better besides my one spin. Pit road, however, I learned a lot, and the learning isn't slowing down. The NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is the second highest level of stock car racing in the United States. Most drivers who compete there have spent years working through local short tracks, regional series, the full ARCA calendar, and lower-tier national series before getting a shot. Cleetus arrived with 9 ARCA starts and 2 O'Reilly starts to his name, has yet to finish on the lead lap in the O'Reilly series, and has spun in every NASCAR start he's made. The counter-argument is just as grounded in facts. His Nashville in-car camera pulled over 450,000 YouTube views. His ARCA Talladega run was genuinely competitive. He led laps and finished second in a field of professional racers. Every professional who has worked with him directly, from RCR's leadership to Mark Rett to Dale Jr., has vouched for his attitude, his work ethic, and his genuine improvement. The RCR deal isn't charity. It's a business arrangement that makes sense for both parties. NASCAR itself has drawn a line, approved for ARCA, all Truck Series races, and O'Reilly short tracks, but not yet for Superspeedways. That's not a rubber stamp. It's a measured position from the sanctioning body that says he's earned some access and needs to prove more before getting the rest. 5 days after Nashville, Cleetus is back in a race car. June 6th at Michigan International Speedway, a 2-mile oval, the biggest non-super speedway track he has ever competed on. He'll be driving the No. For Nice Motorsports Chevrolet Silverado in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the same team he debuted with at Daytona. He's actually looking at Michigan as an opportunity. Trucks run less horsepower than the O'Reilly cars, which gives him more processing time behind the wheel. Beyond Michigan, he's also scheduled for Talladega in the Truck Series in October. Still awaiting O'Reilly Superspeedway approval, has more ARCA races on the schedule, and has purchased a pro-late model from Port City Race Cars to get additional short track reps between his professional starts. The goal has never changed. He said it plainly, the goal is to run the Daytona 500, but the timeline has matured. I don't want to run the Daytona 500 at the Cup level until I can actually drive a car within a reasonable skill gap and be able to keep up with the main pack. If I went out there tomorrow, I would probably lose the lead pack. That's a driver who understands where he is, which is a significant thing in itself. Nashville was a rough night by every measurable standard. But the way Cleetus handled it, pointing the finger directly at himself, laughing about it with a NASCAR legend through a car window, thanking his crew before anything else, that tells you more about where this is heading than the finishing position does. One chapter doesn't write the whole story.